Judging by the sag in his jacket, Julie knew he was packing heat. She figured he probably had a full clip of bullets and one loaded in the chamber thingy. Julie didn't know much about guns, but what she did know about guns had her scared for her life. Julie opens her eyes, still sitting at her desk. She blinks a few times to reorient herself, Control-Alt-Deletes to lock her screen, and pushes back from her desk. Knowing that she's gone to the bathroom too many times today already, Julie heads the short distance to the cafeteria, out the side doors, and starts to walk on the employee-only scenic pond walking path. $600,000 tomorrow or I'll slit your son's fucking throat. Julie speeds up as she remembers the look on her son's face. He was certainly scared, but that wasn't what was bothering Julie. She was more hurt by how disappointed he looked. It's not like she intended to get him wrapped up in this mess. If everything had gone according to her plan, Richard would still be alive, Robert would have his money, and Monty never would have been involved. But Richard didn't keep his mouth shut, got his brains blown out, and now Julie has to live with the fact that her initial decisions led to the murder of her husband and potentially of her son. "Hi, Stacy," she says to a coworker as she passes her. Spotting a nearby bench, Julie sits and tries to catch her breath. She tries to slow her breathing as she watches the water feature in the pond. From across the pond, she notices Nicole Ropp, her stout and stern boss, exiting the building. She places a hand over her eyes to shield them from the sun and scans the area. It didn't take a genius to realize that she was scanning for Julie, so Julie did the logical thing and ducked under the bench, hoping the nearby greenery would provide enough cover. Holding her breath, Julie closes her eyes and counts to 10. When she gathers enough courage to open her eyes, Julie quickly looks all around and sees that Nicole has gone back inside. Julie takes a deep breath, slides out from under the bench, and speed walks the rest of the distance around to the front of the building. She grabs the ID badge dangling at her hip and scans it on the reader beside the door. It beeps approvingly and the door chunks unlocked. Julie hurries inside, hoping to avoid Nicole, grab her purse from over the cubicle wall, and sneak out the front door. Rounding the corner of cubicles, Julie hunches over to keep her head below the walls. Just when she reaches the opposite side of her desk, reaches her hand over the wall, slips her hand into the straps of her purse, Shannon Habel, her desk mate, snatches it. Excuse me? Nicole, get over here. Someone's trying to steal Julie's purse." Shannon stands up, takes Julie's purse, and places it in her under-desk filing cabinet and locks the drawer. Julie, sensing danger as Nicole finally huffed and puffed enough to get herself into a standing position and walked down the aisle from her desk to Julie's, darts into the nearby ladies' room, goes directly to the handicap stall, and locks the door. Since fucking when did Shannon Habel decide to be a goody fucking two-shoes and stop purse thefts in action? This, from the lady who couldn't make up her mind between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump in 2016. Julie sat in disbelief as Shannon in 2016 sat at the end of the day and told Julie that she wasn't sure yet who she was going to vote for. Julie smiled confidently, of course, because she believed her candidate was going to inevitably win with or without Shannon Habel's support. Julie's candidate did not win that election, and she did it without Shannon Habel's support. But now, suddenly, Shannon Habel has a conscience to protect women? Julie paces back and forth in the bathroom stall, only stopping to pretend to be taking a pee when she hears someone enter the bathroom. As she paces, Julie thinks about her next moves. She needs to get out of here, first of all, because she can't handle any of these problems here. In order to do that, though, she needs to get her purse back. She could, of course, just go back to them and be like, "Hey, where's my purse?" But then how is she going to explain when she doesn't go back to work, but instead she just leaves? It's not like she can just say, "I'm gonna leave," even though as an adult woman in America, she technically should be allowed to leave whenever she wants. There's nothing legally holding her here. Why can't she leave? But no, for some reason, she feels scared to stand up and say, "You know what? I need to go home for the day," because for some reason, she's been conditioned to think that's wrong. Julie decides then and there that it's finally time to be the ideal person she's always wanted to be, and she wipes the sweat from her forehead, flushes the toilet to keep up the illusion, washes her hands, healthy habit, and goes back to her department. Nicole is still in the middle of the aisle. Shannon, using any excuse to stop working, is relaying the encounter to the entire staff. Shamelessly, Julie walks right into the middle of the conversation. And I saw her purse move, and at first I didn't think anything of it, Sometimes stuff just happens like that, right? But then, what are you guys talking about? Julie interrupts. Oh, Julie, you're back! Someone was trying to steal your purse, Shannon exclaims. But Shannon here stopped him, Nicole says, proudly, but with suspicion for some reason. Julie takes a moment to think and then responds, That's really great. Thank you so much, Shannon. Could I have it back? She smiles politely, even though inside her anxiety is through the roof, knowing what she is about to do. Of course, Shannon says. She digs in the pocket of her Kelly green cargo shorts for her car keys and unlocks the drawer of her filing cabinet. Julie takes the purse from her, thanks her, and takes a deep breath before... I have to leave for the day. There's been an emergency, she says as firmly as possible. Nicole looks at her and without hesitating, I hope everything's okay. Give me a call if you can't come in tomorrow. Stunned but relieved, Julie walks down the aisle as Shannon calls out, I'll pray for you. Julie races through the halls of Assurance Specialty Property to get to her car. As one of the largest employers in Clark County, Assurance Specialty Property was notoriously bad for parking. Displaying large solar panels on top of a few carports, the parking lot was usually full by 7 a.m. when the first round of employees showed up. By the time Julie arrived for her 8 a.m. shift, the best spot she could find was in the B building's parking lot, even though she herself worked in the A building. Finally rounding the last corner, Julie slams through the double set of double doors and hurries to her car. Pulling out of the parking lot, Julie turns left onto Leffel Lane, then right onto South Limestone. With heavy breath, Julie pulls into PNC Bank, the South Limestone branch. She walks inside and waits in line for a few moments as her anxiety begins to build again. Next in line, Julie walks forward and tries to act naturally. Hi there, lovely day we're having. I'd like to speak to someone about a small business loan, if that's possible. Julie wipes the sweat from her brow and bats her eyes gently a few times. The teller smiles and tells Julie to have a seat and wait for the manager, help herself to cookies and the Keurig if she'd like. Julie sits in an uncomfortable chair for a few minutes before a wet, fat woman in jeans and a blazer introduces herself as the manager. Christine, and escorts her back to her office. Julie, there's no doubt you're walking out of here with a small business loan. We've just got to get through some plot to get it done, Christine says, not wasting any time with literary customs. Julie isn't sure what Christine is talking about, but if she walks out of here with the money Robert is demanding for Monty's life, well, she'll go along with anything. I know exactly what you mean, Mrs. Christine, Julie says, nodding affirmatively. Plot, 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 Christine says as she prints out the documents for Julie to sign, gesturing wildly with her arms as she continues to chant plot, plot, plot. Christine has Julie fill out the necessary paperwork for her small business loan in the amount of $600,000. Thank you, Mrs. Hanaway. I'll go process this loan for you, Christine says as she stands up from her desk. Julie reaches out, places her hand on top of Christine's and says, Wait, why are you being so nice to me? Do you, she starts to stroke Christine's hand seductively, expect sexual favors or something? Julie asks. Christine laughs and snatches her hand away. No, Julie. I'm a character from another story written by the same author as your story, and I'm known to be a little on the crooked side. That's all. Just one character in a repertoire helping out another character to further along a plot, you know? Christine smiles and exits the room. Julie still wasn't sure what Christine was going on about. She marked most of it up to drug use. She figured that since Christine was such a violently ugly and horrendously marred woman, that she must numb the pain with at least minor marijuana use. Christine returns with a comically large sack of money with the US dollar sign marked on the side. Here you are, Julie, all set off to head to the climax of your story. Julie accepts the sack of money, heaves it over her shoulder, and heads to her car. Loading the heavy sack into her trunk, Julie dials Robert's number. While it rings, Julie closes the trunk and enters the car. "This better be good," Robert says when he answers. "Robert, I've got the money. Where do you want to meet? I want to get this over with, now."
928 Spruce Drive, Springfield, Ohio, 45504.
The phone line goes dead. Forest Hills was a really nice neighborhood. The hills, the beautiful trees, all the roads named after different types of the suckers. It was a really nice neighborhood full of nice middle-class houses. Apparently, it's where Robert wanted to meet. Julie passes by the Taco Bell and the Forest Valley Free Will Baptist Church as she climbs up Ash Drive. Turning left onto Spruce Drive, Julie's heart races faster and faster, hoping that Robert hasn't already killed Monty. As she pulls up in front of 928 Spruce Drive, Julie pauses to take a deep breath before centering herself and pulls into the driveway. She pulls over a speed bump the owner had installed in 2007 or 2008 to create a runoff for rainwater to preserve the blacktop. She parks her car at the bottom of the driveway's sloped hill and dials Robert's number.
"This better be good,"
Robert says when he answers. "I'm here. Bring out my son," Julie says, surprised by her confidence.
"Okay."
The phone line cuts. Julie's heart races as she pops her trunk and waits for Robert to emerge. Beside her, the left of two garage doors opens, revealing a red 2013 Hyundai Accent. Robert slowly emerges with Monty bound and gagged and a knife to his throat. Julie turns and lifts the heavy sack of money to show Robert that she has his load. He releases Monty and kicks in his knees so he falls to the ground. Monty cries out in pain, but Julie maintains her composure.
Maintaining your composure, huh?"
Robert says as he lunges towards Monty with a knife. "Stop!" Julie yells out, losing her composure.
"Ho, Robert laughs. "So, you lost your composure that easily, huh, sweetheart?"
he says as he continues to laugh, tears streaming out of his eyes. As he composes himself, he goes to Julie's trunk and inspects the sack of money.
"This will do,"
Robert says as he lugs the money towards the house. As the garage door closes, Julie shouts out. Robert stops the garage door. "Is that all?" she asks.
"Is that all?"
Robert repeats. "Yes. Are we done with this? Are you satisfied? Can I sleep at night?" she asks, revealing perhaps too much of her anxiety to this stranger. Robert thinks for a second and then strides toward her.
"There is one more thing,"
he says, strolling back to Monty, extracting his knife and driving it deep into his gut. When Julie returned to work after her 4 weeks of bereavement leave, 2 weeks for Richard, 2 weeks for Monty, both only approved with obituary and death certificate, no one really bothered her much about what happened. They threw a little potluck in the break room where everyone brought a snack and the main dish was hot dogs, and Julie just had to think to herself that her actions got her son and husband killed. It was her, after all, who got drunk and bid $600,000 on a signed copy of Liars and the Lying Liars Who Lie Them by former Senator Al Franken. eBay policy states that if a bid is won, the bidder has to follow through on the purchase, and for whatever reason, Robert just happened to be one psychopathic man who, upon seeing that large of a sum of money, lost his marbles, going stark raving money mad. He's in jail now, and most of the bid was returned to Julie, who was able to pay back 75% of her loan to PNC Bank. When she defaulted on the rest, her home was foreclosed on, and she began sleeping in her car. Julie cries herself to sleep most nights knowing that she lost everything in her life for a comedian turned disgraced politician's satirical joke book about 1990s and 2000s era politics. She will vote for Joe Biden in 2020. End. Oh, well, that was Julie the Data Processor. I'm putting, I guess, like, what would have been the intro of this episode at the end, because I figured it would be better to have just the story first, just in case you don't want to hear this part of the ego trip, I suppose. I guess, like, this is one of the more personal things, I guess, I've done on the, just in general. And I didn't realize how personal it was until I posted the last episode, or the first episode, and how often I checked the views, and I was waiting to get response and, like, to hear from, like, people. I don't know why, because I don't usually, but recently there have been more people that, you know, friends that have reached out and, you know, said that they've watched my vlogs, or people that have commented on it or whatever. And that's been nice. And so I don't know, I guess it would have been nice. I guess I don't know, it's not like I was expecting more feedback, but it's weird to have gotten none. But that's not what I did it for, and I keep reminding myself that, and so I'm trying just to enjoy sharing the story. And so, like, I enjoyed sharing the story and performing the story. I hadn't read it, actually, since I wrote it a couple months ago. I think either before quarantine or at the very beginning of the quarantine is when that was written. And I hadn't read it since then. So it was fun to read. It was fun to get through. I do have a few more stories that I still like to share. I don't know exactly what the schedule for this would be, but I like to have some sort of idea, I guess, of some sort of semblance of structure. So I'm sure there will be some sort of schedule. That was a shot in real time. I don't know if I picked it up, but now I'm too scared to talk.
Drink your prune juice, you old bat.